The Patriots, the Steelers, the Browns, maybe a mystery team? I think I know the answer, and I'm going to let everybody out there know exactly what's going on with Brandon Aiyuk, the San Francisco 49ers, and the never-ending story of a potential trade now from the 49ers for their star wide receiver on today's episode of Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our very special weekly guest joining us. He's already joined us, but I will introduce him momentarily. I want to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And now let's bring on today's guest.
Nicholas Winkler, come on down.
Can't believe it.
Nicholas Winkler, our weekly guest, my former radio colleague, my former podcast co-host, a game show extraordinaire, and also, as he is sometimes known, voice of the fan. So as voice of the fan, Wink, how do you feel about what's going on with the San Francisco 49ers in this Brandon Aiyuk situation and now what looks like an inevitable trade?
I mean, as Niner fans, this has kind of become normal, right? This hold in, hold out. Every year we're getting a new guy. This year, it's gone a lot further than the others have, right? I mean, we're talking about they're saying, okay, yeah, send us your trades. Your guy can go negotiate with them. You can work something out, but we're going to make sure we get compensated properly before we agree to this. And it doesn't sound like they're getting enough to trade away a stud wide receiver. I mean, let's not talk down on Brandon Aiyuk. He is a fantastic wide receiver in the NFL. He was clutch for these 49ers. I mean, without his catch off of the face mask against the Lions in the NFC Championship game, I think there was a flag on the play anyways, but regardless, amazing player, amazing play, and I hope he stays with the 49ers. I really do. But if he does end up going, it's not the end of the world. It's a player that's gone. That sucks. He's a great player. But, the 49ers will trot out there week one and probably not think twice about it.
So real quick, he brought up the kind of the timetable of everything. And we do remember when DeForest Buckner went through the situation. I felt like that was very clean in the sense of how they did it. We didn't know anything about it, but behind closed doors, I'm sure they had some kind of contract negotiations going on. It was a number we're not going to get close to each other on this. So let's nip this in the bud right now. Hey, go ahead, find a suitor. Nobody knew about it, and they were able to handle it clean. So by the time we heard about it, it was 49ers receiving the number 13 overall pick in the draft. If the 49ers or once they realize, we're just far apart on this, and we're not going to get any closer based on our stance with how we feel about his usage in the offense and what we want to pay him with that. Why couldn't they come to this deal sooner? Because now everybody's so upset with Brandon Aiyuk, but I feel like where's the blame on the 49ers who kind of dragged this whole thing out? They haven't even had any negotiations with him for what I'm hearing, months. They're not even talking about it with him. So why couldn't they make this a little bit cleaner of a process?
It's because they hold all the cards.
Yeah, Mike Silver reporting that they haven't made any kind of trade offers or conversations since May.
Don't have to.
Yeah, and they must believe. But here's the thing. So, by the way, Rick in the chat says that you're too serious, Croc, for 10:49 p.m. in Chicago. Love that people are checking in Chicago. I don't think Croc is serious enough, to be honest with you. I like serious Croc. Letting everybody know what the score is. And by the way, I know exactly what the score is. I have this situation, guys, dialed. I know what's going on with Aiyuk. I know what's going on with 49ers. I know what's going on with the Pats. I know what's going on with the Steelers. I know what's going on with the Browns. I know what's going on, and I'm going to clue everybody into this. I am confident that I know exactly what the score is right now with everybody. I don't understand the process of where the 49ers are. And if the 49ers botch the return so here's my thing with the 49ers. First of all, we'll start there. If the 49ers get 75 cents, 80 cents, 50 cents on the dollar in an Aiyuk return versus what they could have got before the draft, obviously it's a huge botch situation by the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would put some blame and clearly we've been talking about this since February, Croc, since the day after the Super Bowl. Get the deal done before all these other wide receiver deals happen. And we didn't even know some of them that were going to happen. We didn't know about Devontae Smith and DJ Moore and Waddle.
Nico Collins. I know we weren't thinking about Nico Collins.
Yeah, we weren't thinking about a lot of these guys. But we were thinking about Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. But here's the thing. Why is there no news about CeeDee Lamb? Getting traded, available, weird hugs, bro hugs gone wrong. Like, how come there's no stories with CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys?
Because I think it's closer to the Nick Bosa situation where they're going to take care of him. Obviously, they have to kind of go through it. He wants to hold out. But with Nick Bosa, it was never weird either because we knew how much the 49ers prioritized him and how he would get signed. And the Cowboys definitely prioritize him. Okay, they have to go through this part of the negotiations, but it's going to happen. I've been telling people for a while, like, I don't think the 49ers really want to pay him. And that's where the issue is. So it got real sticky because of that. And I think Aiyuk felt that. Then he went public with how he felt about it. The 49ers went public with it where they feel like they stand. So I think that was kind of like the big difference between Aiyuk's situation and CeeDee Lamb's.
Yeah, I mean, you don't pay a fourth option $30 million, right? And that's what he is in this 49ers offense, period.
Well, so what he is right now. In 2026, he might need to be option number one. And by the way,
you're not wrong.
One of the options that are 1 through 3 right now has a bad calf. And the guy who might replace Aiyuk as option number 4 is also hurt for the 49ers. So, it's not great news happening right now in the news cycle for the San Francisco 49ers, that things aren't looking great for them as things are being reported and as things are happening real time. They can come out of this. Great.
What you're saying is going to crank up the cost of a trade, right? I mean, that's going to help the Niners out even more. They're going to be like, well, now we need even more because your backup that we drafted is hurt and our stud running back is being held out for the rest of 2 weeks and then is going to not play during the preseason. Like, now they're going to demand more in a trade, right?
No, I don't think anything changes because I think the 49ers, like they have a price on what they want to pay Aiyuk, they also have a price what they want to get back for Aiyuk because they like him and he's a good player and they don't want to give him away. And he's not Antonio Brown. And maybe him being around has made it more awkward. Maybe holding out is better than holding in because they're like, well, just stop. I don't want to shake your hand anymore right now. Things are too weird. Like, what's going on? Is he causing a ton of problems? Is there stuff behind the scenes that remember and by the way, I wanted to wear this shirt today. This is the Rita Oak, Jimmy Garoppolo holding up Trey Lance like Simba, just to kind of show the stuff we've gone through here in the off seasons around the San Francisco 49ers.
How did you get that shirt?
Neither one of these guys were on the team, and they haven't been for a year and longer. And it's insane what they've gone through. But like, there had to be more with Trey Lance that the 49ers didn't like, aside from being raw. Something that was like, we don't see it with this guy. Goodbye. I wonder if there's something else, and it has to do with the doghouse trip for the 49ers with Brandon Aiyuk. I wonder if they're like, man, we just like Debo more. And Aiyuk is cool, and he's a really good player, but he's not 49ers-y enough in some way, which is hard to believe. But there's some reason why they're not willing to go to a certain place for him and willing to listen to offers now on him versus some of the other players that they have in the past. But my question is, did you not know this? And why are you turning down pick 34 from the Patriots before the draft if you're just going to go trade him in August?
Yeah, that's 34 just probably didn't seem like enough for them.
Right.
I mean, I think we were talking about, it got to be a first round pick. And
this is what brings me back to where the 49ers are. the 49ers maybe are playing chess here in a way that they're like, okay, our ask is still our ask, and our price for Aiyuk is still our price. So meet it or don't. And if that's where the 49ers are, they could still come out of this looking like Tony Soprano in the end, you know? And right now it feels like he's sitting at the diner in the last episode of The Sopranos. We're like, what is going on right now? What is happening, right? But maybe there's more to it, right? And so if they either get their price, which is a first rounder plus or a second rounder and a legit player, like a significant player, which I think is the original ask, I think it's still the ask. If they get that or they get Aiyuk, then they come out looking okay. If they sell Aiyuk for 75 cents on the dollar, they come out looking terrible and they botch the whole thing. So we'll see how this plays out. But that's where I'm at with where the 49ers are.
I think one thing that they've made clear through the media so far that there are two teams where the framework was done for the 49ers portion of it, right? As far as the 49ers, hey, we are happy with what we're getting back and we're good with giving you up to them. Now, when they start talking about the ball is in your court, Aiyuk, you got to make it right with the money. And there was an offer, right? A team pulled out. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that now or later, but
later. We have to move on. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to get to with this whole thing. There's actually news around the 49ers and who's practicing and who's not right now. Let's get to the next topic, basically, Croc, and then I'll hand it off to you there, talking about who's in, who's out with the San Francisco 49ers, what that means. And that's part of why I think I know exactly what's going on with the San Francisco 49ers right now. And it's actually become a lot more clear today, and my assumptions from yesterday are becoming true on that front. We'll get to all of it with Aiyuk in the trade and what I think the end result will be next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. And prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for baseball, football, any sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater events you want to go see. You can find those tickets and get great last-minute deals at Gametime. Flash deals, zone deals, and my favorite part, all-in pricing. No surprise fees at checkout, which is the worst part of buying tickets to any event you're going to. Love the views from your seat, panoramic on your phone. You know what it looks like from your seat on the left, on the right, in the middle. Look all around, and no surprises what kind of ticket you're getting at Gametime. Lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes all the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball, NFL, and any tickets you need. So take the guesswork out of buying those tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Croc. The Patriots are out. The Patriots, can you talk? We talked a little bit off the air. The Patriots statement through Adam Schefter about their interest in adding a wide receiver is just comical. I love this. Is maybe my favorite aspect of this story so far.
They got curved. The Patriots were the guy that see the girl. You know, you see the girl. She got the big booty and stuff. You're like, well, I like what I see. Let me go holler at this girl. And you approach her and you say, hey, young lady, I would like to take you out on a date. Will you go on a date with me? And the girl says, oh, no, you're ugly. Get away from me. And then you say, well, I didn't want you anyways. That's exactly what happened to the New England Patriots. They wanted Brandon Aiyuk. The framework was done on the 49ers end. From all reports, they offered him a contract north of $30 million. And he's looking at a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. This season, like, you aren't the Patriots that we're used to seeing. You know, this isn't Bill Belichick. I don't want any parts of what you guys have going on. And they were like, all right, well, we're going to pull out. Well, go ahead, because I didn't want anything to do with you anyways.
Dude, I love it. It's so phenomenal. Let me see if I can find the exact tweet here from Adam Schefter. Sources: after inquiring about Brandon Aiyuk's availability, the Patriots have decided not to explore any further trade possibilities with the 49ers regarding their standout wide receiver. Patriots are excited about their young receivers and want to focus on them. So there you go. Even though their offer, according to Greg Bedard, who covers the Patriots locally, their offer was a second-round pick, Kendrick Bourne, and Matthew Judon. So that's the offer that the 49ers liked enough and agreed to, which is kind of better than just pick 34, even though it's a year later with the draft pick. That's a pretty good return. And kind of to my I talked about Kendrick Bourne as like that's a throw-in. That's like a Kendrick Bourne. If you wanted to go trade for Kendrick Bourne right now, you'd offer the Pats a 7th-round pick. You know what I mean? Like Kendrick Bourne's a throw-in on this. It's not like we get Kendrick Bourne back for Brandon Aiyuk. Oh, and give us a pick too. No, Kendrick Bourne's a throw-in, and so that kind of confirms that Judon and Bourne, and Bourne's the throw-in. Judon in his second for Brandon Aiyuk, and that's a high 2nd-round pick. So that tells me if you're getting a pick from another team, you're getting a player and you're getting a 1st-round pick, because that 2nd-round pick is higher than any of the picks, or projected to be higher than any of the picks the Browns or the Steelers might earn this year. And so that's a legitimate return. And so I come back to the 49ers, and it's like the 49ers aren't dummies. That's a fine return for Brandon Aiyuk. And they were willing to pay Aiyuk, but like I said yesterday, and I tweeted this out yesterday when it was like, because the Browns and Patriots stuff kept coming out. I was like, Browns and Patriots, they've worked out a deal with the 49ers. And I was like, well, that is something that you leak to the media when you want a better offer from the Steelers. And guys, that's where we are right now. A better offer from the Steelers is what needs to happen for Brandon Aiyuk to get traded. And I think it's the Steelers, and I think it's only the Steelers, because Washington's out. Aiyuk doesn't want to go to the Patriots, and that's why they dropped out. So now it's a staring match between Aiyuk's people, the 49ers, and the Steelers. So, Wink, who blinks first here?
I mean, it's a tough call, right? I mean, the 49ers don't want to get rid of Aiyuk. That's plain and simple. But they also don't want him to be a headache in the clubhouse. They don't want him in the locker room just constantly being there, right? Like you said, it might have been better if he wasn't there, because now he's there. Everybody's seeing it. Everybody's probably asking him, hey, when are you going to sign? When are you coming back? When are you going to start practicing? Like, it's on everybody's mind as they're there. So that gets a little bit weird. So for the 49ers, they got to put it out there as, hey, we're trying to make our guy happy. We're giving you the request that you wanted. Go seek your trade. Oh, we found this one. Oh, you don't want to go there. Okay. And the problem with Pittsburgh, if they don't put a person, a good player along with it, right? If they go and win the Super Bowl, that's 32nd pick of the 1st round. That's essentially a 2nd-round draft pick. So are the 49ers really even getting that 1st-round draft pick that they're requesting? So they got to look at that too. Where's he going? How are they going to do this year? How's that pick going to look in the offseason?
I think one team that we're kind of sleeping on, I'm curious to see how things go with them. We haven't heard about this team saying, we don't want any parts of this trade, but we did kind of brush over the Cleveland Browns. And the more I thought about it, that actually isn't that bad of a spot to go to. And I started looking at some of the, old other trades, right? In the past with receivers, because a lot of what people are saying, and I feel like it's kind of the low-hanging fruit. It's easy to kind of pick from that. But they're like, you don't want to end up like Devontae Adams. Look at him. And it's like, well, okay, you got Devontae Adams, who wanted to play for his childhood favorite team, who wanted to play with his former quarterback. It's a different situation. He kind of handpicked that team for more emotional reasons, as opposed to just get me out of Green Bay. When you look at A.J. Brown, the Tennessee Titans, he wanted some money. They were like, we're not doing that. He traded him to Philly. I don't think Philly was viewed at the time the way that they're viewed now. He went there. It's gone very well for him. You have Stephon Diggs, the brother of Trevon Diggs. Stephon Diggs. Yep. He left Minnesota. People forget about this. They start talking about like where he went and the quarterback and all that. Prior to Diggs getting to the Buffalo Bills, when the trade went down, people were laughing at Diggs. You went from Kirk Cousins to this Josh Allen guy who can barely complete 50% of his passes. Good luck in Buffalo. And then it turned into something different, and they were contenders, right? So with these things, you kind of look at it and what would be a good landing spot for Aiyuk, I think with the stability of the franchise and organization, I understand the Pittsburgh Steelers. But man, the Cleveland Browns, with what they have right now, you got a head coach who now has won 2 head coaching of the year awards with them. You have an offense he learned from Kubiak, so he came from kind of the same scheme as Kyle Shanahan. You do have weapons. Even if you lose Amari Cooper to the 49ers, which we wouldn't mind that. Great man beater, vertical threat, still a really good productive receiver. A little awkward because he doesn't like talk or whatever, but kind of a little Aiyukish in that part. But you have other receivers who are young, talented. You got a running back, Nick Chubb, even though he's come off an injury. And we don't know quite what's going on with the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Is going to get back in his groove or not, or is he going to continue to kind of falter out? But the defense is loaded. I would think like that would actually be a good spot if you don't mind living in Cleveland for 6 months out the year.
I don't think Aiyuk wants Cleveland. He didn't want the Patriots. He wants to go to Pittsburgh. And the Steelers know that. So they probably feel like we don't need to up our offer right now. And so that's kind of where the staring match is for me. But if they want Aiyuk, they're going to have to offer it, up it, because I don't think the 49ers are going to cave. I think the 49ers are at some point, and this is kind of where it differs from the DeForest Buckner situation, is they told Buckner, okay, go see if you can find the money you're looking for. And if you do, you better bring back a first-round pick, right? And so they've done that now, and Kyle Shanahan confirmed it. They've allowed Brandon Aiyuk to go, and this is something we didn't know when we were talking about this the other day, Croc, because we were like, well, that's the difference in this situation is Aiyuk can't go talk to teams. But the 49ers have allowed him to do that now. You better bring back what we want in an offer. But Aiyuk doesn't want to just go to any team, right? At this point, reading the tea leaves, he either wants to be a 49er at his price or he wants to be a Steeler at his price. And unless the Steelers meet the 49ers' demands, like the Indianapolis Colts did in 2020, he's not going there either. And I think one of the things that Aiyuk's agent is maybe partly to blame for this, who's a buddy with John Lynch, is the idea that playing on the 5th-year option is like some untenable thing. Like you couldn't possibly, because the extension starts after the 5th-year option anyway. Devontae Smith signed an extension that doesn't start for 2 years. Like this year is unchanged. The extension starts next year anyway. And if Aiyuk, the only reason is injury. You don't want to get hurt, right? Aiyuk makes more money by playing out his 5th-year option and hitting free agency next year, getting tagged and traded. It helps the 49ers because they get, instead of Cooper in a second, they get Aiyuk in a second when they trade him and tag and trade him and get a 2nd-round pick next year, right? So for the 49ers and Aiyuk, unless he gets hurt, it's better for everybody involved to just play out the season, ball out, go win a Super Bowl, and then get paid even more money from a team next offseason when the wide receiver money continues to grow.
If you're Aiyuk, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You got to strike while the iron's hot, and you don't know what your production is going to look like with the 49ers. Again, we've talked about they don't care if they target him 3 times in the game or if they target him 10 times. Like, they don't care. He's not a featured part of the offense.
He's had almost the exact same of targets the last couple of years. You think he's going to get, like, all of a sudden, like, 70 targets this year?
Well, it's going to be a drastically different it can potentially be drastically different with his yards per catch.
Yeah, it could.
And now, I mean, potentially. But if I'm Aiyuk, I don't know. Is that something I'm willing to try? I just came off a year with 1350, and I missed the game and didn't even play in the second half of the last game of the season. So I could have been a 1,500-yard receiver if I'm playing every game, full game, right? Like, will I realistically be able to duplicate that type of performance when they don't care to target me a certain amount of times?
Well,
like, I don't know. I would not know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I would say, well, if I was a jerk, I'd be like, oh, so you don't believe in your own ability, right? No, but that's not, reality here. But in reality, it's been collectively bargained and you're under contract. So wink. Is Brandon Aiyuk going to be like, oh, I'm just going to not get paychecks and not play this year? Does he get more money that way? Because he's under contract. It's been collectively bargained this way. And if the 49ers say, sorry, Steelers didn't meet what we're looking for, Brandon. So, and we can't come to a deal. So we still want you for $26 million. And or let's do this thing and maybe we'll talk again next year. Maybe we can get a deal done next year. Like that's reality for Brandon Aiyuk. the 49ers have to send him somewhere that he wants to go. It's not up to him. And what could he do otherwise? Not play, not collect paychecks if money is what he wants? You think he's going to make more money by not playing, or he's going to make more money by balling out on the 5th-year option? Because that might end up being his only options if there is no trade that the 49ers deem acceptable on their side. And
not only that,
he's gone it feels like he's gone so far where he can't be like, okay, I'm just going to report and play now. Like that would be like if tomorrow we're like, oh, Brandon Aiyuk showed up and he's going to report and play on his 5th-year option. Everybody would be like, what the hell? You know, it's almost like it's become like, it'd be such a huge public loss. And that's where I think this has gone wrong in the negotiations. We shouldn't even be talking about this, because if CeeDee Lamb showed up to Cowboys camp tomorrow and was like, oh, I'm going to play under the 5th-year option, everyone would be like, oh, okay, interesting. He's going to hit free agent next year. If Brandon Aiyuk did, it'd be like, oh, huge L for Brandon Aiyuk. He caved, you know, and it's like, it's a strike to his manhood. And I think that's where on Aiyuk's side, the negotiations here have been too public, and it's a big L for him if he doesn't get what he wants.
And the 49ers can't blink. They can't take less. They shouldn't do that. It would be foolish on their part to cave into him for his manhood. Like, come on, this is a business. This is sports. We're not talking about manhood right now. We're talking about he wants to get paid. I fully understand that. He's under contract for one more season. He needs to come play or get fined. So he's not only not going to get paid if he doesn't show up, he's going to accrue fines. Every single week that he doesn't show up, he's going to get fined. So he's actually going to be not only not making money, but he's going to be losing money. And so you look at it from that point of view, and you're like, okay, this is be foolish on his part. He should come back, right? Well, if he doesn't, the 49ers trade him away for a first-round draft pick. How'd that work out in the DeForest Buckner's thing, right? That Javon Kinlaw wasn't exactly a great draft pick. Like, you have Brandon Aiyuk. You know what Brandon Aiyuk is. He is a fantastic wide receiver. Don't trade him away. You have him under contract for a great price this year. Hold on to him. Don't be foolish unless you're completely blown away. Unless it's a guy coming in that's going to help you right now at a position of need and you get that first-round draft pick, then even then, like, I might not do it. Like, I don't know. That to me just seems like it would be foolish of the 49ers to trade him away for pretty much anything.
All right. We got to move along. I have some insider knowledge that I want to drop on y'all about what potential offers and conversations might have happened between the Steelers and the 49ers. And one other option that could be like a get out of jail free for everybody in this whole thing as well, with Aiyuk staying with the 49ers. And there's some notes from what's going on at camp with the San Francisco 49ers that we've kind of forgot about for the last 48 hours with all this trade madness as well. We'll get to that next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just some job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. And that role might be your role, and they don't even realize it because they're not looking. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, so they have tons of resources to help you hire. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. So from what I understand, and this is funny because yesterday, Croc, you and I talked about here are the players that the 49ers aren't going to get from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we felt like the Steelers were the team. It's not going to be like Troy Fautanu. It's not going to be George Pickens. It's not going to be like any of the rookies that are young and exciting. It's going to be probably an old veteran, maybe a boring player. And the pick is still the most important part. And that's still where I'm at. And I'll tell you what happened with Williamson and I, the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Go check out that episode today. We put our GM hats on and we hammered out a trade. And I'll tell you what the results were from that. I mean, go listen to the whole episode right now on all of your podcast feeds. Apparently, and this is what the word is, that the 49ers in a counter to the Steelers' original offer, asked for George Pickens and a second-round pick. And so that's where they are with the asking price. Judon and Bourne and a high second probably. George Pickens and a second-round pick from the Steelers. And I don't think the Steelers, I would have told you the Steelers would have said no to that, which clearly they have, if that's the case. And I think the 49ers probably know the Steelers would have said no. But what the 49ers are telling the Steelers is, you're not just going to go steal Brandon Aiyuk away from us. So you better offer something legit. We knew you're going to say no to this. So how about you send us a 1 instead of that 2, and then maybe another player, and then we'll figure this out and we'll get this done. And so to this point, I think, and me and Williamson hammered this out, we came back to a first-round pick and Calvin Austin, who's a return man. He could kind of replace the snaps that Ray McLeod had last year for the 49ers. And, Ricky Pearsall would obviously have to take a bigger role and take some of Aiyuk snaps along with Juwan Jennings, have a little bit bigger role, and probably Debo even have a bigger role as well. And that's how you replace the snaps from last year on the 49ers team. But that was what we can. And he was like, you know what? A first rounder, I think, is kind of, because he doesn't want to give up a substantial player. He wants to give up, maybe a Van Jefferson. And even that, he was like, Van Jefferson, maybe, I don't know. So that's kind of where we're at. Maybe Dan Moore. But I think it's going to end up being a first rounder and a lesser player because the Steelers don't want to give up a player if Aiyuk is sent to the Steelers. That's where I think it's at. That's my prediction. Or it's going to be a second rounder and a significant player.
Pickens, he's not even like a Kyle Shanahan. Like everything that we have seen Kyle to kind of really like. And there's been a couple of things, right? He wants that short area quickness guy, and then he wants, like, are you a big body? I'm gonna put you in the slot, right? Like the Juwan Jennings or like Kendrick Bourne, who works well kind of in those areas.
Yeah.
Pickens is like a vertical threat 50-50 monster guy. And I mean, he can run slant, but he's not. And then the attitude, like he has a different mindset.
Yeah.
And
doghouse waiting to happen.
Doghouse waiting to happen.
He's an X receiver. So from positionally, he would fit in as, you play the X where Aiyuk used to play. But so this is, and again, this is where I'm at with this. If I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, the 49ers are kind of like, I don't care. They kind of just want it to be like, see, Aiyuk couldn't get a deal done, so take our damn offer. I think that's what the 49ers still want, is Aiyuk at their number. And so they're making it difficult. They're like, you're going to have to give us something. And I think the 49ers, if they did ask for that, don't really even want it and know that the Steelers were going to say no. But that's their way of saying, okay, look, your second round offer that you gave us with a player, well, how about this player in a second round pick? So basically that's them saying, offer us a stinking first, or offer us something really substantial, or this is not going to happen. I think that's what they're saying with that offer, if they did indeed counter with that. Right, Wink? You feeling me on this? Or do you think I have this thing read correctly? Because that's what I feel like. I think it's the Steelers or nothing. And I think the 49ers want a substantial return. And if not, I think they're going to go back to Aiyuk and say, well, offer's not changing. So take it, or we're going to go through this year, the 5th year option. And I do, because like, is Aiyuk going to just be unprofessional and like not show up at all? Is he going to miss weeks? Is it worse to have Aiyuk on the roster this year, unhappy, than it is to have, Kendrick Bourne instead, or, Amari Cooper instead?
So for me, I hope they keep going back with higher, right? I hope they're like, well, what if it's this? And then the Steelers are like, yeah, that's good. And they're like, well, actually, we want higher. We want a first and a second and that guy. Like, I don't think the 49ers want to trade him. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you're right. If it's a substantial player and a first-round draft pick, they might think about it. But again, why would they trade him? Aiyuk can't sit out the whole year, right? Because he won't accrue that year. And he'll still be on the 49ers next year. He will have to report at some point in order to become a free agent. So the 49ers I think they'd be stupid to trade Aiyuk for pretty much anything. I mean, unless it's, of course, a couple first-round picks. Like, okay, great. But no one's going to offer that for Brandon Aiyuk. It's just not going to happen.
You said something very interesting there. You said the 49ers don't want to trade him. And the crazy thing is, Brandon Aiyuk doesn't want to get traded.
No.
He wants to play for the Niners. He just wants to get paid.
Yep.
Yeah. So he
there's people that think he just doesn't want to play for the Niners.
Number. Yeah.
Yeah, they think like he wants to play for the Niners. He likes playing with his teammates. He likes playing under his coaches. He just wants where he feels he's slotted in money. And there are people like, oh, he wants Jefferson money. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He even said it. Like, I don't want their money. I just want where I'm slotted. And we just saw what DJ Moore got. And we saw some of the other guys. And he's like, I'm in that range. And whatever range that is in his head, the 49ers aren't, it sounds like, coming closer. They're not budging to get closer to that. And that's the issue. But this isn't a guy that's like Stephon Diggs with Vikings, Stephon Diggs with Buffalo, where he's just like, man, get me the hell out of here. Yeah. And like, I'm willing to do anything to just leave. Like, that is not Brandon Aiyuk. Mm-mm. He wants to be a 49er, but they don't want to pay him. He was crying out for help. That's what that is. I took this English class and they talk to us about,
I love that.
Learning the minds and stuff. They made me take this class in college. I just want to play football, but you have to learn like the minds and like these psychological things that kids do when they're kind of seeking this certain type of attention. And it sounds like he just wants love from the 49ers and he's doing these things. So it's like, why don't y'all love me? Like Will Smith said on that, why don't my dad love me? Why don't he don't want me? That's Aiyuk right now to the 49ers. Like, why don't you? Well, we do want you. We just don't want you this much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, that's not fair because this is where my value says I am. And clearly there have been teams willing to pay him that amount. Now, whether he wants to go and play for the team, that's different. So there's people that value him at that amount. But why isn't it the team I want to play for?
Because you're the fourth option.
All right. So here's the last thing I have on the Aiyuk situation. And apologies to our network overlords. We're going long here today, and it is what it is. There's an interesting story going on. And Wink, let me put it to you this way. So you're Aiyuk's agent. You're advising him. And all this stuff has happened, and Aiyuk doesn't want to go to the Pats. That trade's done. Doesn't want to go to the Browns. That trade's done. The Pittsburgh Steelers won't meet the 49ers asking price. So that deal is done. And everyone's kind of in a weird spot and upset. And John Lynch comes to you as Brandon Aiyuk's agent and says, okay, look, this didn't get done. We want you here. Let's revisit this next offseason. But we're not going to ask you to play on the fifth-year option money. We're going to give you more money so everyone can save face here. So here's a few million more dollars. Now you're making, instead of $14 million this year, you're making $20 million, whatever the number is. And now let's play ball, and then hopefully we can get a deal done next offseason, or we'll trade you somewhere you want to be, and we'll do it quickly. Can they come to an agreement there? Can everybody save face in this thing, and Brandon Aiyuk stays with the 49ers for a Super Bowl run in 2024? And
there you said it. That's a way to save face, right? That's a way to be like, look, you got paid. Like you can come in, you can show your face. We didn't, you didn't balk. You didn't go after all this and then be like, nah, I didn't get what I wanted. I'm coming back. Like, you got something out of it. Now come back. Let's play football, and we'll see where we end up after the season. I think that's a great idea. I'm not sure the 49ers will do it because, again, they have all the leverage, but I like it.
And, man, the 49ers are going to need Brandon Aiyuk this year because Christian McCaffrey and Ricky Pearsall are hurt, guys. McCaffrey's got a calf. Kyle Shanahan said, and by the way, Kyle Shanahan at his press conference pretty much just admitted that everything with the Aiyuk reports is accurate. That stuff's all happening right now.
Did you hear Chris McCaffrey say my former teammate?
And Chris McCaffrey with the NFL Network referred to Brandon Aiyuk as his former teammate. There's some people still that are, they're not the Rappaports and the Schefters, but they're people who are ancillary newsbreakers, and some people believe what they're saying, that this deal's it's gonna happen with the Steelers. It's gonna happen with the Steelers, and it's done. And Chris McCaffrey sounded like he said that Brandon Aiyuk was his former teammate, and then tried to erase that real quick.
He said it. Immediately kind of backtracked.
It was an accident, but he said it.
Yeah, well, he said it in a way that I could see him like just answering the question in a way that if he does get traded, I'm still cool with my former teammates. I'm not going to hate him for that. Yeah. That's kind of the vibe I got from it. It had to be pointed out to me to look for it, to think it was him saying, "Oh, he's already gone," and and there's some conspiracy theorists out there that are trying to be like, "Oh yeah, Rappaport and Schefter are so powerful, they won't let the news break because they don't want Pretty Ricky to break it first." and whoever Cam Marino, whoever else is on top of it here that isn't them, because they get to break the news, but Christian McCaffrey's going to be out for weeks. He's not going to play in the preseason. That's not a worry. I don't think he was going to play much in the preseason, if at all, anyway. But, older running back, a lot of carries, played 40 games the last 2 years, led the league in touches, and he's got a calf to start the year. That's not an ideal place to start. Shouldn't be an issue, but not great. Ricky Pearsall re-injured his shoulder. It's why he had the blue jersey in OTAs. He also had the hamstring on his way into training camp as well. So that's one reoccurring injury and another injury already for the rookie in the first couple of weeks of training camp. And that's the guy who's going to need to make a lot of plays for the 49ers to help replace Brandon Aiyuk. So it's not nothing to lose Brandon Aiyuk. You still got 8 guys on the NFL top 100. If you lose Brandon Aiyuk, you got a great football team. But in the words of my esteemed co-host, still, I think, guys, we're in the not ideal phase of this offseason for the San Francisco 49ers.
Not ideal. I will say there's one thing that is ideal, and I kind of tweeted this out, and obviously tweet so many characters, you can't really expound on it. But if there's any team that's built to handle the departure of a player of Brandon Aiyuk's caliber, it's the 49ers. Yeah. With Christian McCaffrey, if healthy, with Deebo Samuel, with George Kittle, whenever you get Trent Williams back, you got Brock Purdy, a young, good quarterback. Everybody likes Juwan Jennings. You drafted a receiver first round. Got to stay on the field, but you drafted a receiver first round to go with those guys. You drafted Cowing. You were talking about Calvin Austin. In my head, I'm like, sounds like Cowing, right? Like you drafted him in the 4th round. There's other guys. Okay, what is Danny Gray going to be able to see the field? We kind of like Conley. What is if there's any team that's built to be able to withstand that, it is this team. So it is not ideal to lose Brandon Aiyuk, but if you have to, I think this team is set up to where it's like, hey, we'll be okay. Oh, did we get better by doing it? No, but I think we'll be okay, and I feel confident with saying that. Like, I still think they'll be. And if you're number one team in the NFC, there might be a moment that happens where you're like, I wish we had Aiyuk in this situation. Then I go back to, well, even when you had him in this situation, you didn't use him in this situation. So,
right. Yep. And Wink, when it comes to the 49ers and where they're at right now, you got to feel pretty good about where this team is, even without Brandon Aiyuk, right? So you're not jumping off the ship, and maybe it makes you better in the long run, helps you figure out the salary cap stuff. And if you play it right, you get a good pick, and maybe you're trading down and collecting even more picks. Because what the 49ers actually really need isn't like some veteran 1-year player in a Brandon Aiyuk trade. You know what they need going forward is young, really good, cheap players to fill out the rest of the roster. And that's 1st-round picks, that's 2nd-round picks. That's, you get an extra 1st-round pick from the Steelers, and then you get a player there, and then you trade down from your regular 1st-round pick, and you trade down a couple of times, and now you turn all of these draft picks into 5 players, and 3 of them turn out to be really good starting players for you that are cheap. They're on rookie contracts. That's what the 49ers need from trading a star player like Brandon Aiyuk. They don't need to, like, Amari Cooper in a 3rd. You know what I mean? I don't even care what player comes back. They need the picks, because I think they can withstand losing Brandon Aiyuk. It's all about the picks and building your team going forward, young, controllable talent.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that Purdy's got to get paid after this year. So
when you say they can withstand it, though, you got to make it very clear. We're not saying that the team is like better without Brandon Aiyuk, or we're not as so arrogant with the 49ers that we just think like, oh, you won't feel it at all. But when you have 4 other all-pros on your offense and you have a really good young talented quarterback, you should be able to still function offensively.
And they will. Yeah. Hopefully he's there, though.
Liberty in the chat says, has Aiyuk turned down the Browns? Not officially. We haven't really. The Browns have kind of just been quiet in this. And apparently it's maybe Amari Cooper in a 2nd-round pick. I don't know. I don't love that deal for the 49ers necessarily. It doesn't, it's a nice player that could fill in for Aiyuk this year, in a 2nd-round pick from a playoff team. That's not a top 50 pick or anything. So for me, it's more about the picks than the player back for Brandon Aiyuk. But and we don't know if Aiyuk wants the Browns or not. But my prediction is the Steelers, and it's the Steelers and only the Steelers. And I think it's got to be, if they don't want to give up a substantial player back with a 2, it's going to be a 1 plus a throw-in player. And maybe the 49ers, you know, how they do with the, 49, like they send a first and a 5th and a 6th, and the Niners send back a 4th, and then a next year's 7th. You know, it's like one of those things where there's maybe some picks going back the other way. So the Steelers feel better about not losing a ton of draft picks, or maybe it's like it's Calvin Austin and a 1st, and it's Aiyuk going the other way with a future 5th, or whatever, like something else going the other way too. That's my prediction on what happens if there's a trade right now, and I think it's only the Steelers. That's the vibe I'm getting.
No trade.
He stays.
Yeah,
Croc?
that's my prediction.
I think he gone.
He gone.
I think he gone. Once they gave him permission to seek all these contracts and make something work for him, I felt like. Yeah.
You know what this story needs, guys? A mystery team.
Ooh.
Who's that mystery team that we're going to hear about when we wake up in the morning? And of course, we'll have it all covered for you on tomorrow's edition of Locked On 49ers. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Appreciate everybody jumping in on this live episode. You can subscribe on any of your audio platforms that you listen to this show. And for your second listen, check out any of the other 200 podcasts here on the network, and maybe go check out the Locked On Steelers. See what they're saying about this Brandon Aiyuk situation. Croc and I back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.
See you.
Subscribe to this video.